Do you know that most of us spend a big part of our life learning to come back to ourselves? And some of us actually try the whole life and still don't manage to. As kids, we are so conditioned to do what our parents want, to do what the school wants, what the daycare wants, what the society wants, that we forget to connect to who we are. If you think of yourself as a child, or if you watch a child on the playground, you'll notice that they move in their own pace, they go on the slide, then they go onto the swings, they take their time and they watch around and they observe, and then they listen to themselves and they do what they want. But often the parents or the adults in their life interfere. And what happens is that over and over the child is told what he wants. He learns to listen to others versus listening to himself or to herself. Hi, my name is Eugenia. I'm a coach and I work with professional women to help them connect to their power. You can read the description below around what I do, how to work with me. I have a couple of courses coming up and I would love to have you join me. But today, I would love to talk to you about how do we remember who we are? How do we find a way back to ourselves? Conditioning is a very big thing in our society. The society takes us from being uniquely who we are to making us, or trying to make us, very similar to other people. Even in school, we're often reminded about our classmates who do well in this class or do well in the other class, or we're told about our siblings who do really well. And we often hear, if you were more like this person, if you were more like that person, if you were more like John, if you were more like Sylvia. So in the end of the day, we learn, first of all, what our adults expect of us, but second of all, we try to be like somebody else. And even a lot of coaching programs, in programs that teach people things that are important in life, often work for a large number of people, taking into account the fact that if it worked for one person, it will for sure work for the other. But we each are so unique and so different that we need to understand who we are first and foremost, and understand our needs, understand our desires, understand how we connect to our intuition so that we can find our way back to ourselves. So, talking about the practical ways to do it, I would like to share some of the ways that can help you. First and foremost, I think it's very important on a daily basis to pay attention to your desires and to actually follow them, to actually do things that you feel you want to do. That inspiration that comes from the inside, it's very important to follow it. That desire for something small or big. So if you feel like you're craving something, or you want to do something, you want to go dancing, it's important to follow those desires and to follow those clues that your intuition gives you so that you can stay connected to who you are. And doing it on a daily basis and committing to it is going to be very, very important. Writing down things that you want to do, that come to you, the insights, and things that inspire you. For example, for me, I have been thinking about making things by hand. I really enjoyed knitting when I was young, and I actually want to come back to it. And that's something that I'm going to take up again. I find that very enjoyable. Also, doing embroidery by hand is something that calls me. So it's something that I write down and I want to follow up on that inspiration. There's a reason why those desires and why those things come up for you. It's learning to say no to things that do not inspire you, that do not make you happy, that you feel obligated to do. Our life is filled with responsibilities, and things that we feel obligated to do, and we fill our day with those things, and they take away that joy of life away from us. We often forget and we shut down our desires because we feel that we have to take care of something, or we have to fulfill our responsibilities, and we have to be a good girl. It brings us to a place of really not honoring who we are. So saying no more often is something that would help you. When you feel not inspired, or you feel that something is not enjoyable for you, unless it's something that's critical for you to do, learn to say no, so that you can free up the energy to do the things that you like to do and that you want to do. And also, you'll learn to listen to yourself more and to honor your desires and who you are. Trying new experiences, I find, is one of the ways that you can actually evoke some new feelings, some new scenarios, some new sensations in yourself. And that's very important in order to get to know yourself from a different angle, from a different side, from a different perspective. So when you feel like doing something new, or even pushing yourself sometimes to do something new, even when you sometimes feel like maybe that's not for you, or you have some limiting beliefs around it, try it. Give it a shot. Try a cooking class. Try a new dancing class. Try rock climbing class. Just something that is out of your comfort zone, because you don't know what is going to bring out. And most likely, it's going to bring out a new side of yourself that will inspire you to really understand yourself from a different perspective. Changing up your routine is very important. So it kind of goes along with trying new things, but also we are so conditioned, or we do things very often, the same things every day that are in our comfort zone. So varying up that routine, even taking a different way of how you go to the office, or the stores that you shop at, or the restaurants that you go to regularly for dinner, all those things are going to make a difference. So try that. One of the other ways to understand kind of what your desires were and to understand yourself is asking your parents what you wanted and what you liked as a child, what you wanted to do as a child. So for example, in my life, when I was younger, I remember I really wanted to be a teacher. But I think when I thought back for many years, I actually thought, how could I want to be a teacher with kids? It just doesn't sound as inspiring or as part of my personality. But what I understand now is actually I wanted to share knowledge. I wanted to share what I know. I wanted to help people, guide them. And that's definitely something that I totally connect with. And that's one of the things that inspires me and that I do now. So those clues of remembering yourself as a child, asking the adults in your life, your parents, your grandparents, what you liked, what you wanted as a child, what were you like as a child, are going to help you with getting those clues and connecting with that part of yourself and bringing back some of those memories to bring you back to that innocent self before you got conditioned into a lot of other things, and you got all those conditioning layers on you. Also, the books that you read, and the books and the fairy tales and the stories that inspired you. Who were your superheroes? Who inspired you? Who you wanted to come back to, and which superpowers were interesting to you? For me, for example, it was transporting myself from place to place. Or the Ice Queen, the story of the Ice Queen, and how she had all those magical powers. And I had this reverence and just such respect, even though she was a cold, kind of evil person. But I had respect for the power that she had over her land and over the people, even though she didn't use it for good. But those things, will give you clues around what you liked as a child, what inspired you, and what you gravitated towards. And it potentially will bring out some new understandings for you. Oftentimes we are uncomfortable to think of death, or to think kind of the end of our life. But when we think of where we want to be at the end of our life, and we look back, we can see what we want and what would inspire us because of the imminent kind of ending, it can bring us to an understanding of how we want to be remembered. And from there, we might be reminded also of what we want to do and what kind of legacy we want to leave. So I think one of the ways you can do it is writing your obituary. Think about how you want to be remembered and what you want people to say when they're saying goodbye to you and when you move on to another world. So this way, it will give you an inspiration potentially. And also will remind you that life is about an ending. In the end of the day, we all go one way. So being afraid to express who we are does not serve us. It does not allow us to be who we are and fulfill our purpose. So you don't want to regret not doing things you love. You don't want to regret not expressing who you are down the road. So just remember, you are the creator of your life. You're here, you're unique, you're here for a purpose. So finding those different ways to reconnect to who you are, remembering those desires, honoring yourself, and learning that your desires are important and what people think of you and how people think of you is important. But you want to have a balance of bringing your desires forward and helping others. It always has to work in balance. So just know when you start on that journey or when you are in the middle of the journey, it's not going to be perfect. But when you are honoring who you are, you're also setting an example for your children, for people around you to do the same. And the more you clear that path to your desires and the more you follow your intuition, the more fulfilled you're going to feel. You know, I work with human design, I work with Destiny Matrix, I work with Gene Keys. All these tools are here to help us connect to who we are, since we spend a big part of our life wanting to come back to that, wanting to come back to who we are, wanting to understand ourselves. Because when we understand ourselves, that's where we discover that our life comes together and we start expressing who we are, we start understanding our motives, we start understanding why we react to certain things. We create our life, we create the circle of friends around us, we understand ourselves better, and we also can guide ourselves to the place that we want to be, where we feel the most loved, the most fulfilled, the most expressed. So I wish you all the best, and I hope that you honor yourself on this journey and you honor your desires. And that brings you the most joy, the most fulfillment, the most lightness, and allows you to express yourself fully.